Okay, what we got here is all the pieces of the Climax power truck, power axle, I should say. This is, of course, 2 axles per truck. But I just thought I'd lay it out. I'm assembling them all, and I wasn't the last one. And I thought, you know what? I might as well just lay out the parts here real quick, and I can go through them all, just so I have it for my own reference also. So, yeah, we got everything's pretty much self-explanatory. There's your wheels, here's the axle, there's the key slot for the drive sprocket, there's the matching key, there are the 2 keys for the axles. You can see the keyways here. Once the wheel is slid on, you got a washer. I had these laser cut. That's actually stainless, believe it or not. That's what he used. But to fit on there, that's right off the sheet. No work done to that at all. But that slides on there. And of course, I have the key on there so it doesn't turn. It fits in the keyway. This is a modified nut I took, and of course I threaded this shaft myself. All that work on there is home shop work. These also I cut in half and then tapered the back down. Mainly that's so that it'll fit. I got the journal box. This is what a journal box looks like. So this actually can be right up against there when the wheel's turning. So there's just a little bit of an offset in there. So I could have made these, but heck, for all it takes to buy that size nut, 3/4 nut, that's what I went with. Let's see, next thing. Oh, this was also laser cut. You can see this. You'd never cut this out on your own. All these curves, but here again, when you're doing a laser, take it somewhere and you have someone doing a laser, you can get creative with it because it's really no more work for them. They just put it on the table and go. So I made a pattern. There's basically the motor sits on here. Let me go ahead and grab a motor. Something I didn't put on here, the electric motor. I guess I can't do that, but here's an electric motor that's going to be used right there. And you can see that that's going to go on there, and it's designed to pivot off of this hole here. And then those are arcs here based on this. And here again, they were able to cut that out with the laser. This is right around there, nothing to it. Now, I did have to square this one out because that was a little short. If I were to get more of these made, I would make that a little bit longer. And of course, I'd make this one. I machined that down, take it out. I couldn't get close enough in my machine to get down to here, and for all it took to file it, that's what I did. But right here, I had to go down about 1/8 of an inch more. Mainly, it was to save using a half link for the chain. I was able to just cut the chain in using the full links, and I shortened it up enough. So that works there. And let's see, what else do we got? I could probably, then these are my, I put a lot of work into these, but more or less for fun. I just happened at the time I made these, I got myself a 5C Collet block. I've never had one. For all these years, never had a 5C Collet block. So I got one, and of course one of them has the hex block. So put this in, and I wanted to make the hex on the end here. And so I have that. But the nice thing is these are extensions, because I know on the other, when I've used these motors before, the most frustrating part of these is when you have them mounted in the, you're using them mounted to however you're mounting them, you end up putting a bolt through here, to mount it on, let's say, onto this bracket, and then you get a nut in here, and it's a pain because you're on the drive sides over here, so you don't really want anything over here. In my case, I have this whole plate. So you'd have a nut back here. So what I did was here again, it's threaded in the inside, and that basically just, goes out there. It extends the hex out here. that I can get on, and I'm tightening them after adjusting the chain, I can, you know, put a quick tighten on it, and it's easy to get to because of the end of the motor. So I got 3 of those. And let's see the other key piece. Oh, one of the other things that was really on another truck I did this way. I did the similar mount, but I only had the 4 slot. I had the 2 slots and a pivot. What I didn't have was a way to hold the adjustment. So with this, I have this piece here I made, and what this gives me is, I'll show you where that goes, but it allows me to turn, you know, with a straight blade, basically take up the slack in the chain and then tighten down all 3 adjusters, and you know, and hold it, because here again, you're doing this while you're, you know, I mean, when you build it, you're out here on a bench. Later on, you're adjusting your chain, and you're probably down on the ground somewhere trying to do this stuff. So the way that works is that'll go right here, fits in that, this matches up in that hole right there. And here again, it's not going to go anywhere, so it really doesn't need any way to secure it on the back side. And then as you tighten this, there goes your adjustment, tightens up the chain. So I have it set right now, more or less it's at the loosest it can be, the chain right there. Now granted, I'm not going to need that much play, but I just more or less did that because here again, this was a prototype piece, and I didn't want to get into, I got it cut out, and then I thought after the fact I probably should have said, well, I should have maximized the chain length. The other reason why I gave myself a little bit more was right here, which I didn't talk about yet, the main drive sprocket. Basically a scooter sprocket, you know, here again, a scooter motor, scooter chain, scooter sprocket. I bored out the center, and this was a purchased hub that I got off of Amazon, because heck, it already had the keyway cut. It had, I mean, it was done, and it practically was nothing. So, you know, machined that up, put a step on that. I think, I don't even know what the official term would be for that. Then I bored this, and then threaded, drilled and tapped the 4 holes here to bolt that on, the sprocket on. But the plan is, this is the largest sprocket I could fit on here, assuming that that's what I'm going to need. Now, once I get it running, out there doing whatever, if it has plenty of power and is slower than what I thought, or it looks like I could, you know, gain a little bit more speed, or, you know, depending, I can go to a smaller sprocket. Of course, if I go to a smaller sprocket, that chains with the increments of the chain, each link, this is going to need some more adjustment. So that's another reason why that's longer. So it's probably over explained. Let's see, what else do we have here? Put that back there, and we have this here. Now these aren't cut off. This is the way. I have a whole bunch of these set screws, full length, and I'm just using them in here. They'll be cut to length, but once I'm ready. But this slides on to let's see. This goes in the truck, and then this slides on like that. I hope my head wasn't in the way on any of this stuff. Let me see if you can see that there. Okay. And this will be in the middle. So once everything's centered up, that'll be in the middle. And what this does, in this particular instance, this will reach over to a rubber bushed hole in the spring plank of the Climax truck. That would be, actually I have one sitting right here, I could show you. I don't have the hole drilled yet because I'm waiting to, but this is the spring plank of the Climax truck, and there'll be, ideally what I'm going to shoot for is, I would like to have it in the middle, but here again, if it has to be offset, it's no big deal, because if you flip the truck the other side, this offset would match. So they might be offset depending on where these zerks are going to be in relation to the center. I have some of that. That should be pretty easy to adjust. The plan was with this truck was more or less try to create a universal design that I could just get the pieces cut out and then put it together, and I know it would work in just about anything. So this here is pretty generic. Two pieces of pipe. I mean, that's this black iron pipe here. That's a piece of pipe here. I welded a tab on. I mean, that could end up being any, it could be, it could go this way. I mean, that way. Who knows? Whatever you need to do to make a power truck, to make it line up with how you want your power truck to be, the motor to be, the stationary piece of the motor mount to the truck. In this case, on the Climax, it's a fairly condensed truck. I don't know what I forget what the wheel spacing is, the wheelbase between the two axles, but it's fairly close. So the motors are actually going to be pointed straight up, which exceeds the height of the truck. But the idea is there's a bolster. Let's see here. This is the bolster. So that bolster's in the middle here. Between the two, it's going to be more like this. But the bolster, this turns with the bolster. But up inside the car body, there's nothing right here. So the idea is, that on the high side of that, this should clear anything with the car body. That's the plan. It should work out. I don't think it looks as, once I have it all together, I'll be able to check it out. Yeah, but this, then I can drop this off to the side, depending whatever amount I need, and then set the set screw. So that's the idea. Now, if there's still enough torque that it makes it move, my plan is that once I have it locked and I'm set, I would go ahead and put drill a small hole in here for one of the set screws to key into. I think that would be okay. I don't foresee any problems with that. So I think that might be about it when it comes to the pieces that I wanted to show. I could actually go ahead and assemble this. It might take some time. I'll do it on video, and then I'll just probably speed it up as it goes. So let's go ahead and put some of this together. I like to have the wire here down at the bottom. I think that way I know it's not going to be in my way on any of the assembly. That's sort of my plan. So let's go ahead and just lightly put this together. Okay, and you have a number of these. Basically, they're just carriage bolts. I did have to trim some off the back of them to get them to work the way I wanted. So let's see. There's one, and there's one. So let's go ahead and put those in. Roll that over. Oh, how do you like that black oxide finish on here? Just messing around. I got some of this, was at a show, the guy was selling a bottle of this stuff here. Iron, steel, and nickel blackener. It's pretty cheap. I should have got more than one now that I see how it works, but it's really neat. You just clean it really well. I have lacquer thinner or acetone. Clean it really well. Don't touch it, and then dip it in, and yeah, you get a nice fin. Put a little oil on it after the fact, and yeah, it makes for a nice look, I think. So that's okay. So there's how that's the motor mounted. As you can see, there's the adjusters, and see how they're back here. So when you put that on the axle, the wheels are in the way, it's just so much easier to get to them. yeah, I think that's about it there. I can go ahead and put together I'll go ahead and put together the axle here. Okay, we're moving along here. I did a few things. Got the this is how the motor mounts here. Let me take a look at that. See, there's the back side. Right here, I don't know if I noticed or mentioned this earlier, but this is where the Zerk goes in. Now, the reason I have that Zerk out is because, you know, I'm working on where I want to put this, and I might need to flip it because I'll show you that in a minute here. Let me just go ahead and finish putting this together. But what happens is this, I think I keep bumping that camera with my head, maybe not. There we go. Just a little bit, that bushing is just a little bit on the tight side coming across there. Probably should have had a little bit more of a chamfer on that edge. Might have been a good idea, but I think we're okay. And then I got my key here. And then put that goes on. And see how what we're doing is we want just a little bit of play in there. Just snug it. Okay, and now we just go ahead and put the other reel on. These babies are, that is a fit. But what you don't want is you don't want to have anything here with the nuts loose, and these, you know, that one was loose, but there is no play there, and you don't want any play there because it'll just start working at the slot, and before you know it, the thing will be rocking and it'll open that slot. They're just snug down. Okay, so that's that section. Now what I want to do here, I can take there. Okay, that's what we got so far. I'm probably gonna have to edit out some stuff out of this video because it's kind of long. But yeah, so that's what you got. One nice thing about this, the design, is I think, is if you wanted to re-gauge this, if you had to, there's plenty of, there's plenty of room here. I mean, obviously you're not going to take out that much, but even if you just machine those shafts down, take an extra 1/8 off each side. If you're going to go somewhere if you're going to go 7 1/4 gauge, you know, East Coast, it'd be easy enough to do that. I actually thought about doing that, and then just put a spacer in there, bolting it all together, and then if you ever wanted to go backwards, just take them out. But I just don't know if that's ever going to be necessary. But here again, if you had to take it apart and re-gauge it, not a big deal. You probably want to take it apart anyway, maybe service the bushings. You know, the bushings are, other than for there's a groove, an oil groove inside, which I didn't show. Ah, darn, I should have showed that. I put it, where the Zerk fitting's at, right here, is you could see the shaft. I don't know if you could see that there, but inside, in there, is you actually see the shaft through the hole. That's been drilled. That was drilled out after the fact. But also corresponding with that, in that bushing inside, I used a round-nosed tool on a boring bar and went in there and plowed basically a groove around the inside. So when you pump a little bit of grease in there, it's going to want to pump it around that groove and fill that in. Hopefully it's going to push a little bit both ways and put a little bit of grease on those. I mean, they are oilite, so they don't technically even need anything done to them, but I thought that might not be a bad idea. I don't see how extra grease is going to hurt an oilite bearing, so figured it was easy enough to do. Or maybe use a connector here, grease gun connector as it is, but maybe just pump a little oil in too, and maybe some heavyweight. So that's an option. So then the other thing we can do is, let's see here, we should have a chain. It seems to make sense to me. I just like to know. Preferred direction of that motor. And here again, what people, I learned this when I tore one apart, and I don't have it handy here, but these motors are designed to, I mean, they're DC motors, so you can, they're permanent magnet, you can change the polarity, right? I mean, change the polarity on here, and you'll get forward reverse. But the one direction, the forward, because they were for scooters, is actually optimized. So there's a and I don't even know when advanced, you might want to call it, I guess, advanced. The brushes aren't, it's not square in there. They're actually rotated, slightly advanced. I believe it was advanced is what I found out. And I think that there's a reason for that. It's probably to optimize the motor. Maybe it's for heating, or who knows. So what I want to do when I put these in, primarily you're going to go forward with this thing. So I'm going to have them all, number one, all going the same direction. That's the first problem people do, is they'll have one axle with them pointing and think, oh, it'll look really cool. I'll flip the other one around and it'll look cool. Well, no, you don't want to do that, because then the one rotor's turning clockwise, the other one's turning counterclockwise, and they're not electrically, it's not the same. It can't be, because they have those brushes rotate. So I don't know if there's any kind of, load it could do. I don't know. All I know is that's what I think is the right way to do it. So they all need to be rotating the same direction on all four axles. And that's the way I'm going to do it. So I put the arrow on there only because I know that's the direction it spins when you put positive on the red. And that is forward. Check that out. That's the way it worked on the scooter. So I've been putting an arrow on all of them. But that's it for there. So then we just need to put in the master link. And this chain, I don't know, it might be too light. I was thinking it would be okay. I mean, the sprocket was already on these, on the motor, and that's why I chose this. This is number 25 chain. So that's what I stuck with, and I figured if this works on scooters, why would it not work on here? But there, beautiful. And I like to do it so that the chain is going this way. I want to have the clip pointed backwards. I don't know. I just figure if it's going to snag on something, I'd rather not, it's rather one end's rounded, right? The clips. I'd rather have it going forward this way around than having the opening going around. You know what I mean? I don't know. There could be nothing to it. I just think that's a good way to do it. Okay, so there it is. That's one. There's a completed assembly right there. And of course, this Zerk will go in there. Have to do that. And then you have, let's see, I can bring another one up here. And there's the second one. And here again, they're not rolled exactly where they're going to be, but And like I said, this tab here will be going to the center because this is going to be in here. You know, when you think about it. Like so. Of course, it's going to be raised up. But so that's about where they're at too, because they're not far apart. So you can see that you can't roll the motors in. That's not going to work. And rolling them out, I think you'd see it. I mean, it's so I'm hoping that the vertical thing is going to work. If it doesn't, I'll have to. I don't know. I'll have to see what I can do. That's about where I'm at with it. I do think the vertical is going to work in the car body, because there's, like I said, this here. If you think about this, if that's up here, you know, there can be, I mean, granted the whole thing would swivel, but you know, the car body bolster is going to stay straight, right? So it's going to be like this, and this is going to go like that. So yeah, so that's something we'll see that when these turned out rather well, I think. Look at that, that's nice. Rather nice, I guess. Yeah, they turned out okay. Yeah, let's made it out. Used the wood to do it. I thought that might be kind of cool to actually make it with the way the real one was. Had oak in there. It's white oak. So there it is. Okay, well, I think that's all I'm going to show on the motors.